Over 450 chords using one simple shape? And you're going to learn them in under 10 minutes? How's that even possible? Well, once you understand how jazz chords really work, you'll get it too. After watching this video, you'll be able to take your comping and chord solos to the next level. Dr. George here with Jumpstart Jazz Guitar. Jazz guitar for busy adults. Everything you need to know without all the noise. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you'll be notified when new videos are up. And don't forget to like and share the video. You've probably heard the joke about rock musicians playing 3 chords for thousands of people, while jazz musicians play thousands of chords for 3 people. It's not really that bad. But you got to wonder how it's all done. You see, I do know well over 1,000 chord voicings, and while that may sound scary, it's actually a lot easier than you think. And if you'll stick around to the end, I'll share the trick to remembering them all. So we're going to add notes on the 1st and 2nd strings to a no-root shell voicing. And we'll be adding chord tones, 9ths and 13ths. And we'll end up with every possible dominant 7th chord. So we'll start with the dominant 7th shell voicing with the root on the 6th string. Now, a lot of these chords you can play with the root, but they're also usually easier without. And so we're going to be playing them with just this shape, the 3rd and the 7th on the 3rd and 4th string. To start with, let's add the natural notes. So we can add the 5th. We can bar that too. We could add the 13th. We can add the 5th and the root, or the 13th in the root. And then we can add the 9th, or the 13th in the 9th. So there we have 6 voicings. So now let's look at the altered notes. We have the flat 5, the sharp 5, the flat 9, and the sharp 9 available to us. Now remember, the flat 5 can also be called sharp 11, or the sharp 5 can be called flat 13. Let's start with the flat 5. So here's our shell, and there's the flat 5. Now we can also add notes on the 1st string. So here's the flat 5 with the root added, with the flat 9 added, and with the 9. Now, the sharp 9's up here, and I suppose if I really stretched I could get it, but it's harder than it's worth, so I don't use it very often. So there's 4 more voicings. So next we'll add the sharp 5. Here's the root. And so we can add that here. We can add the root to that, or the flat 9, the 9, and the sharp 9. And then finally, we can add a couple of combinations. Here's the 7th with the 5th added. We're going to add the flat 9, and we can add the sharp 9. And then we can do that also with the 13th chord, one of my favorite chords, and the sharp 9. Okay, so now we have 19 chords. Let's find a few more. This interval here that we were using as our 3rd and 7th is a tritone. Now the tritone splits an octave exactly in half. And so if you turn it upside down, it's still essentially the same interval. So while this is the 7th and 3rd of the chord with the root on the 6th string, if we move it onto the 5th string, it becomes the 3rd and the 7th. And our root now is going to be D flat. It's also a tritone away. This is the heart of tritone subs. We'll deal with that in another video. And so now we can do the same thing and add the other notes to the chords. So with the root 5 chord, let's start with the natural notes again. So here's our shell. We're going to remove the bass note, and then we're going to add first the root. We can also add the 9th. We can add the root and the 5th. And we can add the 9th and the 13th. Now once again, it's kind of hard to get that root and the 13th in there. That's quite a stretch. So we'll just call this 5 chords. All right, so now let's add the flat 9. And to that we can add a flat 5 on the first string, the 5th, the sharp 5, and the 13th. For the sharp 9 we can add the same notes. Sharp 9 here, sharp 9 with a flat 5, sharp 9 with the 5th, sharp 9 with the sharp 5, and then sharp 9 with the 13th. And now for a couple of blended chords. Here's the dominant 7th with the root. We're going to add the flat 5 here, and we can add the sharp 5 here. And then with the 9th, we can add the flat 5, and we can add the sharp 5. So that's a total of 38 chords based on one simple shape. So how do we get to 450? Well, there are no open strings involved in any of these chords, so they're all movable. And that means that we can play each set of those chords in all 12 keys. So 38 chords by 12 keys equals 456 chords. And one more thing. You might have noticed that the forms for both of these chords are the same. And in fact, that's what happens with tritone subs. So when I play this chord, if I put the root here, it's a sharp 5 flat 9. And if I put the root here, it's a D flat 9. And what happens is that for the root 6 chords, the natural notes will become altered notes on the root 5 chord, and vice versa. So every one of the shapes that you learn here has 2 different names. So I promised you a trick to help you remember them. Jazz musicians only think of these chords in terms of chord type. And so in this case, these chords are dominant 7th chords, and they're either natural or altered. And to be honest, even then, that's probably more than we're thinking about. This is any one of these chords is a G7 chord if I'm thinking about this root, or a D flat 7 chord if I'm thinking about this root. So all 19 forms can be distilled down to just 2. So when should you use these? Well, the specific colors are really up to you, but here are some general guidelines. First, use the notes that come from the current key. For example, if you're playing a D7 chord and you're in the key of B flat, well, B flat has an F natural and an E flat, which is flat 9 and sharp 9. So you would add that. Okay? It also has a B flat, so you could add. And it also has the A, so we could add that note too. But it doesn't have the flat 5, and so we would probably not choose that one. If a 5-7 chord is going to a major chord, add the 5, 1, 9, 13, and you can do that pretty much at will. And if you're going to a minor chord, then add the altered notes. And one last thing, it's kind of hip to alter the 5-7 chord even in a major key. And don't forget to watch the melody and stay out of the way of the soloist. So thanks for watching. The PDF with all of the chord forms that we covered today is on my Patreon page. It's free, so please sign up. And then don't forget to leave some comments down below. They're always much appreciated. See you next time.